Moving on to perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines cross at a 90-degree angle. So a perfect 90-degree angle is what perpendicular lines cross at. Let's go ahead and graph each of these lines. Y equals negative 2/3 x plus 3. So my y-intercept is 3, and my slope is negative 2/3. So down 2 and right 1, 2, 3. Down 2, 1, 2, 3. And then we draw our line through. Our other equation is y equals 3/2 x plus 5. So our y-intercept is 5, and we have to go up 3 over 2, which will put us off the graph here, or we go down 1, 2, 3, and back 1, 2. Down 1, 2, 3, and back 1, 2. Now I went through that fast because by now we should be good on just graphing linear equations. What do you notice about the slopes of these lines? Well, the first is negative 2/3, and the second is 3/2. Now these lines are indeed perpendicular lines, and if you notice, the slopes are opposite, and they went from a negative to a positive. So slopes of perpendicular lines are always opposite reciprocal. Not exactly sure how to spell that. That is definitely not right. But opposite reciprocal, meaning the opposite sign, so instead of a negative, it's a positive, and you flip your fraction. Reciprocal means to flip the fraction. So, writing the equation of perpendicular lines, looking at example 1, it says write the equation of the line that is perpendicular to I, so perpendicular to this line, and passes through point P. Well, first thing we're going to do is identify the slope of our new line. If we want to be perpendicular to this line, and the slope of this line is 1/5, we want to identify the opposite reciprocal slope because that will be the slope of our new line. So 1/5, flip it, 5/1, and it was positive, so it becomes negative 5/1, or just negative 5. So our slope of our new line is negative 5 because that slope is perpendicular to the slope of the line we were given. Now we no longer need this line anymore. Doesn't mean anything to us anymore. We found what we needed. We can just cross it out. We can get rid of it. Now we have a slope and we have a point. I always want you to write your equations in slope-intercept form, but the easiest way to get there when given a point and a slope is to put it in point-slope form first and then solve for y. Reminder, point-slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So we have y minus y1, which is 3, equals m, which is negative 5, times x minus x1, which is negative 1. So y minus 3 equals negative 5 times x plus 1. Now I would want you to put this into slope-intercept form. So distribute and solve for y. Y minus 3 equals negative 5x minus 5. Then add 3. So y equals negative 5x minus 2. Now this line that we just created is perpendicular to the line we were given, right? It has an opposite reciprocal slope and goes through this point because that is the point we use to create the line. Moving on to our next set of examples. Let's go ahead and go through one more of these. We'll go through the first one. Through -2, -4, but perpendicular to y equals -3x plus 4. So step 1, let's identify the slope of the line, which is -3, and then use that to find the opposite reciprocal slope. This is technically the same thing as -3/1. So if we want to do the reciprocal, that would become -1/3. And then if we want to apply the opposite rule, instead of negative, it becomes a positive 1/3. So the slope of our new line is going to be 1/3, and it's going to go through -2, -4. Again, once we identify the slope, I do not need any other information from that line. Now we can write the equation. First, by putting it into point slope form. So y minus y1, which is -4, equals m times x minus x1. Distribute and simplify. We get y plus 4, that becomes a plus, equals 1/3 x plus 1/3 times 2. Remember, when you multiply fractions, you multiply straight across, so that becomes 2/3. Now I need to subtract 4 from both sides because I want to solve for y. Y equals 1/3 x, and then we have 2/3 minus 4. If I want to subtract this, I need to get a common denominator first. Looks like my common denominator is going to be 3. So 2/3 minus 12/3 is equal to -10/3. And that is going to be my final answer. Goes through this point, but has an opposite reciprocal slope of the line that we were originally given. If you struggle with the fractions, make sure you re-watch this section where we got a common denominator and subtracted.